Okay, let's unpack this. Picture them, those mysterious figures, sharp black suits, dark sunglasses, that unsettling stillness that speaks volumes. The Men in Black.
Right.
The iconic image, whether it's from movies or just, cultural lore. But where do they actually come from? Were they always just there?
Well, that's the core question we're diving into today. Our mission, really, is to trace the surprising, sometimes pretty bizarre, real-world origins of the Men in Black, or MIB mythology.
Okay.
We're going to try and pull apart the earliest alleged sightings and events that somehow snowballed into this pervasive cultural phenomenon we know today. Blockbuster films, the whole deal.
And we've been digging into a really fantastic History.com article. It gives quite a unique view on how folklore, these alleged events, and pop culture can get all tangled up.
Exactly.
So our goal here is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge so you can quickly get up to speed on this, captivating piece of modern myth-making. Let's jump right in.
Okay, so it's quite possible, even probable, that the entire MIB story, this whole enduring myth, can be traced back to one specific day. June 27, 1947.
June 47, okay.
Yeah, that's where our journey starts with a man named Harold Dahl.
Right, Harold Dahl. So what happened? Imagine this. Dahl's out on a conservation mission, gathering logs in Puget Sound near Washington's Maury Island.
Okay.
Suddenly, he sees them, 6 donut-shaped objects hovering about half a mile above his boat. I mean, an extraordinary sighting. And things get intense fast.
How so?
Well, one of these objects apparently falls like nearly 1,500 feet, and the metallic debris starts raining down from it.
Raining down.
Yeah. And get this. Some of that debris hits Dahl's son, Charles, on his arm, injures him, and tragically, it kills the family dog.
Oh, wow. Kills the dog. That makes it very real, very immediate.
Absolutely. Dahl, thinking fast, manages to snap some pictures with his camera. He shows them later to his supervisor, Fred Chrisman.
And Chrisman, what did he think?
Well, Chrisman was skeptical at first, understandably. But he goes back to the scene himself. And according to the story, he also sees a strange aircraft.
So he became a believer, or at least a witness.
Seems like it. But this is where the story takes that really chilling turn we associate with the MIB. The very next morning, Dahl gets an unexpected visitor.
Ah, okay. Here we go.
A man in a black suit shows up, meets Dahl at a local diner. And this man, a complete stranger, starts recounting Dahl's entire experience from the day before, in incredible detail.
Knew everything, just like that.
Apparently. The man even says something like, and this is quoted in Gray Barker's 1956 book, "They knew too much about flying saucers. What I have said is proof to you that I know a great deal more about this experience of yours than you will want to believe."
Wow. That's unnerving. Like straight out of a movie script already.
Right. And then comes the warning. The classic MIB warning. Dahl is told very clearly not to talk about the incident. Or else, bad things would happen. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this sounds like the perfect setup for a conspiracy theory.
You'd be right. It absolutely does.
And it was. Despite the fact that a U.S. government investigation later called the whole Maury Island incident a hoax, Dahl and Chrisman themselves even admitted it was.
They admitted it was a hoax.
They did. But that didn't matter to some. The story, especially that man in the black suit part, it just became this key obsession for UFO enthusiasts.
It fueled the fire. Even being debunked somehow made it more potent for believers, right? Like, of course they'd say it's a hoax.
Exactly. It hinted at suppression, at a cover-up.
It's fascinating how that works, isn't it? How a story, even one officially debunked, refuses to die. It just morphs.
It totally transforms. Phil Patton described it perfectly in the New York Times back when the first Men in Black movie came out. He said it was not unlike the children's game of telephone, or what the literary critic Harold Bloom calls innovation by misinterpretation.
Innovation by misinterpretation. I like that. The story gets passed along, maybe slightly changed each time, maybe misunderstood, and suddenly it's something new.
Yeah, and it's striking how this hoax, this declared hoax, became even more powerful within those UFO circles. What does that tell us about our need for certain narratives, especially ones hinting at secrets and control?
That's a huge point. And if we stick with that telephone game analogy, the first call that really resonated in the public sphere actually goes to Kenneth Arnold.
Kenneth Arnold, right, the pilot who saw the flying saucers.
That's him. Now, while the Maury Island thing allegedly happened first, Arnold's UFO sighting near Mount Rainier on June 24th, 1947, that's 3 days before Dahl's alleged incident, that's what really touched off the saucer sensation, according to a 1949 government report.
So Arnold's sighting got the public's attention first. even though Dahl's MIB encounter supposedly happened earlier.
Precisely. Arnold's sighting went wide. Murray Island was more of a slow burn initially.
Okay, so we have Dahl's dramatic story with the MIB warning, and then Arnold's big public sighting just days apart. Did these stories just bump into each other, or was someone trying to link them?
Oh, there was definitely an effort to connect them. It wasn't just coincidence. Dahl and Crispin, they tried to sell their Moralian Island story.
Sell it to who?
To Ray Palmer, an editor at a Chicago magazine. Palmer, seeing the buzz Arnold's sighting had created, contacted Arnold. He hoped Arnold could help verify Dahl and Crispin's account, maybe give it more credibility.
So Palmer saw a link, or maybe an opportunity.
You could say that. Arnold then gets involved and summons 2 Army A2 intelligence officers to investigate Dahl and Crispin's claim.
Army intelligence. Okay, now it's getting serious. What happened with that investigation?
Well, this is where things take a really tragic and, for conspiracy theorists, significant turn. In July 1947, the day after leaving the investigation, those 2 Army officers' B-25 plane, it caught fire.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it crashed. Both officers were killed.
Killed. Wow. You can just imagine how the UFO community reacted to that.
Exactly. For people already suspicious, this wasn't just a tragic accident. It was seen as, well, proof. Proof that powerful forces were silencing people. It just poured gasoline on the conspiracy fire.
Cemented the idea.
Yeah.
The MIB, the cover-up, it all seemed connected.
Right. And despite all this drama, the Maury Island story itself, including the MIB part, still didn't really hit the mainstream UFO consciousness until much later. Until Gray Barker's 1956 book, They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers.
Gray Barker. So he's the one who really brought it all together.
He was absolutely pivotal. His book was the game changer.
How did he do it? How did he connect Dahl's specific, maybe isolated encounter to this broader MIB phenomenon?
Barker was, well, kind of masterful at weaving these threads together. He took that initial man who wore a black suit from Dahl's story and explicitly linked it to 3 other guys, similarly dressed, who allegedly visited a young UFO enthusiast named Albert K. Bender back in 1953.
Albert Bender. Okay, another key name.
A very key name. As ufologist Nick Redfern points out, Bender, with his own really frightening stories of MIB visits, almost single-handedly ushered in the plague of the Men in Black.
So Bender experienced it too, or claimed to.
He claimed to. But it was Barker's book that took Bender's story, which was pretty niche before, and blasted it out to a much wider audience. Robert Schieffer, who's a longtime UFO researcher, confirms this. He says before Barker's book, almost nobody knew about Bender or his MIB encounters.
Barker put Bender on the map, essentially.
Yeah.
And connected him back to Dahl's earlier story.
Yep. Creating a pattern. Suddenly, it wasn't just one weird incident, it was a phenomenon.
And the descriptions Barker used were they like Dahl's lone figure.
Barker described Bender's visitors in his book as 3 men in black suits with threatening expressions on their faces, 3 men who walk in on you and make certain demands, 3 men who know that you know what the saucers really are.
Sure.
Quite dramatic.
Definitely ups the ante. 3 of them now. And threatening.
But Bender's own account, which he published later in his 1962 book, Flying Saucers and the 3 Men, was even more, well, bizarre and frightening.
How so?
Get this, Bender wrote. They floated about a foot off the floor. They looked like clergymen, but wore hats similar to Homburg style. The faces were not clearly discernible. The eyes of all 3 figures suddenly lit up like flashlight bulbs. They seemed to burn into my very soul as the pains above my eyes became almost unbearable.
Ooh, okay, that's not just guys in suits. That's something else entirely. Floating, glowing eyes.
Exactly. It takes it from maybe shadowy government agents to something distinctly otherworldly, or at least deeply strange. Which raises that interesting question, doesn't it? How much of this is genuine experience versus perhaps creative embellishment or psychological projection?
Or maybe Barker just knew a good story when he heard one. There's skepticism about Barker's own beliefs, right?
There is. Robert Schieffer, who actually corresponded with Barker, said that Barker didn't really take the MIB or even other things like the Mothman sightings all that seriously himself.
Really? He wrote the book that launched the MIB myth, but didn't buy it.
Apparently not fully. Schieffer said Barker did believe that there was still something mysterious about the whole UFO and paranormal thing. So maybe he wasn't a true believer in the specifics, but he definitely saw the appeal, the market for mystery, perhaps.
A shrewd observer of what captures the imagination. Fascinating.
But regardless of Barker's motives, or the fact that the Maury Island story was debunked, the myth just took hold. Since Barker's book came out almost 70 years ago now, there have been countless MIB reports, and they've kind of solidified the classic MIB image.
Right, the tropes we all recognize. They almost always wear black suits, black hats, dark sunglasses. They drive black cars, often described as old-fashioned or just seldom, like Cadillacs sometimes.
Yep, classic cars are a common detail.
They usually show up in pairs or groups of 3, rarely alone after that first doll story.
2 or 3 seem standard.
And their main goal, the whole point of their visit, is always to muzzle witnesses of strange paranormal phenomena. Shut people up.
Basically, yeah, cosmic enforcers of silence.
But even with those common traits, the descriptions themselves still vary wildly, don't they?
They really do. It's striking. Some witnesses describe them almost like, well, like stern FBI agents. Intimidating, sure, but human. Government types.
Okay, believable enough.
But then others, like Bender, recall these strange appearances, these almost supernatural features. You get the glowing eye sometimes, weird complexions, maybe odd gaits or stiff movements, monotone voices, things that suggest they aren't quite human.
So it ranges from G-Men to something alien or artificial.
Kind of. And it's probably that ambiguity, that blend of the mundane bureaucratic threat with the terrifyingly weird, that helps the myth stick around and adapt. You know, it can be whatever you fear most.
That makes sense. And it clearly has stuck around. I mean, the Men in Black are such a huge part of pop culture now. Movies, TV shows.
Absolutely. Despite the shaky, debunked origins, the MIB concept is thriving. More movies, more stories exploring them are always popping up. It just shows the incredible staying power of a compelling, mysterious narrative, doesn't it? Regardless of its factual basis.
It really does.
Yeah.
So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening right now?
Well, beyond just being a fascinating kind of spooky story, the MIB saga really highlights the incredible power of an image. That simple black suit, the sunglasses, it became an anchor for a global myth even when the original story was called out as fake.
It's like a masterclass in how myths are made.
Totally. It shows how our psychology, our fear of the unknown, maybe a distrust of authority, and just the sheer catchiness of a good story can build something huge out of rumor, whispers, and maybe misinterpretation.
So it's not just about UFOs. It's about how any powerful story, even misinformation, can take root and become real in our collective minds.
Exactly. It's a blueprint for how narratives spread and stick.
Which leaves us with a thought, doesn't it? Given how stories like the Men in Black can take on this life of their own, become fact for many, regardless of their shaky origins, what other widely accepted cultural myths might have surprisingly ordinary or even debunked beginnings, just waiting for someone to take a deep dive?
It definitely makes you wonder how easily these compelling stories can shape our whole understanding of the world around us. What else are we accepting that started like the Men in Black? Food for thought.